Hola, 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 familia. I'm super excited today because today is officially our 1 year anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of Inspired Impressions, and by extension, my birthday. Yeah, so happy birthday to me. I have a lot of things to be thankful for. I have a lot of things that I am grateful for, one of which is Inspired Impressions, and that's going to be the focus of this video today. So we're going to talk about how we started, how far we've come, and how far we're going. I think I should just start from how far we're going. We intend on going very far as he would have us go. But yeah, you kind of get the point, right? So let's dive right into it. I hope you have your pen and paper because it's going to be a long journey. I need to jot down some intricate details of my journey, things that you need to know, and all of that. Okay, I'm just kidding. But yes, once upon a time, there was a young girl who was 7 years old and she was in the choir. And in the choir, she had a music director. His name is Uncle Andrew. That's what we call him. That's what we called him then, and that's what we still call him now. Who just saw the gift of being able to talk, and he decided to groom this gift. So he selected a few of us from amidst the crowd of wonderful children. It was one of the best times of my life, that choir, that children's choir. Honestly, any day, anytime. I'm super grateful for that choir. But back to my story. So he selected a number of us from the choir, and he would write a page full of script for us to go home and cram, then come back and we would rehearse the script with him, and he would eventually go and present this speech. We would have to give the speech offhand to a large crowd of people, maybe before a music presentation or before something, or that would be our presentation. So yes, that's kind of like how we started. And honestly, I had a very, very stern background on being able to speak now, because Uncle Andrew, I'm super grateful for, is a very intentional person. I mean, whenever he gives you something to do, whenever he gives you a task, he expects that you deliver excellently. He would always say things like, "We're giving nothing less than the best," and he would call me my baby then. So imagine how he will be calling you my baby, but when you don't do well, he will beat you, he will flog you, he will tell you story of your life. Like, I mean, he was very disciplined, and that's one thing I'm grateful for, the discipline that accompanied my childhood and being able to deliver tasks very well. And he always rewarded when you delivered well. He would shower praises. I mean, he would even take us out as kids. Maybe we did well, even when we didn't do well. Sometimes like, okay, we can do better, but then let's just go and have fun, go and eat. He always gave us the exposure that we needed and all of that. And it's like, I don't want you to do all this. We would give nothing less than the best. So I had that kind of background in speaking, and I'm grateful to God for that, because I think that fast tracked down all of these years, that kind of crystallized a passion in my heart without even knowing. So even after that children's choir, because I mean, when you go to a certain stage, you'd have to graduate from the children's choir to the youth choir. I didn't join the youth choir, don't ask me why, but that's outside our story now. So even after the children's choir, that training that I had sort of crystallized that passion in my heart. So whenever I see people talk, whenever I'm watching videos, I'm always interested in how well people spoke and all of that. And quite all right, the whole public speaking vibe diminished, but speaking never did. So it moved from public speaking to just speaking well and talking and all of that. And over the years, I'm very grateful for the gift of my friends. I mean, every single time they always had an earful of the things I had to say, honestly. I literally will start from here, and I'm probably gone somewhere else whenever I'm talking with my friends. But yeah, I'm grateful to them. They always give me listening ears. And secondly, I think that my number one audience was myself. Because of how much I enjoyed speaking, I also enjoyed listening. In fact, I think that I enjoyed listening twice as much as I enjoy speaking. So most times I would just be on my own, and then I'm speaking, I'm talking to myself. I just imagine myself saying things, maybe talking about something I learned. I learn very well by listening to myself. So probably when I learn something, I'm always narrating a scenario in my head, and I'm the narrator. I'm the character. I'm the narrator. I'm everything, and I'd literally be saying these things out. When I'm reading a book, I would be reading the book out just because I wanted to hear myself. And that training that I had of being able to speak well and deliver, like he would say things like, Jay, okay, yeah, he called me Jay, but mostly called me my baby. You're supposed to speak well, you're supposed to use the right character, you're supposed to pronounce the word you're pronouncing very correctly. You don't just speak like you are on the streets, you speak very well. No offense to being on the streets, no, I mean, like, there's time for everything. No offense to that. But you kind of like get the point I'm making, right? And that's how I became my biggest audience. And I can say my friends are my great audience, but I'm my biggest audience. I There's never a dull moment with me because I have something to say to myself. If I'm looking for gist, I'm not looking for a gist partner, because my gist partner is myself. And I believe that that's where the birth of Inspired Impressions began, because it started as me just recording myself and listening to myself. And then I think I was just online, and I saw an ad for Spotify for podcasters, where you could actually record on Spotify for podcasters. And I just had this strong impression in my heart, inspired impressions, get it right. So I was inspired with this impression. Oh my God, that was not planned for a rhyme. Anyway, I was inspired with an impression. Jay, don't you think you should record your voice? I mean, you may or may not put it out, but just record your voice, record your impressions, right? And that's how it began. Honestly, the intentions of Inspired Impressions, it wasn't even to put it out. I had started recording Inspired Impressions on my birthday last year. That's when I published the first episode. But I never really put it out. It was just there in the cloud of Spotify for podcasters. Nobody, not even my friends, knew that I was doing anything like that until about 2 to 3 months later. I think I just slid into their DM and I sent them. And they're like, oh wow, what is this? I like listened to it, and they listened to it, and they were like, wow, Jay, this is great. How did you come up with this? And that's kind of how it began. I shared with them a few episodes, and I think 4 or 5 months down the line, I started to actually put it online for everybody who were in and out of my circle to actually see Inspired Impressions. So that is how we started. And now, how far we have come. We have come very far. I'm not even going to deny. I'm not even going to sell ourselves short. We have come very far. But so that we are more accountable, I want to give a list of our episodes so far. So officially, Inspired Impressions has released 30 episodes. Yay! 30 episodes, honestly. 30 amazing episodes that are dear to my heart. Trust me. I don't even want to tell you the story of how some of these episodes came, or what it took me to bring these episodes alive. That's going to we probably just stay on this video for the whole day, but let's just drop that aside. And I think I should list the episodes and maybe say a few things about some of them, not all. I won't be able to say plenty things about all of them now. The first is kindness. Kindness, oh my God, kindness is very dear to my heart, because I don't even think I can remember the exact impression, the exact experience or scenario that inspired this impression. And I think it's because it was a series of events or things that were happening in my life or experiences that I was learning from that actually brought kindness alive. So kindness was really the birth of inspired impressions. And there's something I said on that episode that I will keep saying: kindness can be learned. You can learn how to be kind. And honestly, you should learn to be kind. It's great to have many other virtues. It's great to be good, it's great to be respectful, and the many other virtues. But you see, this thing called kindness, honestly, I feel like defining kindness doesn't do justice to what kindness is. But kindness is a very simple but deep virtue. Honestly, family, we should learn to be kind. And if we are kind, kindness is, it's one of these things that always comes back to you. It's an aura. There's so much happening in the world right now. There's so much hate, there's so much unpleasant events, there's so much enmity, there's just so much vices in the world today. A little kindness will go very far. Honestly, some people just need kindness to keep going. Some people just need kindness to breathe again. There's like we're literally suffocated. Every day you wake up in the morning and it's this bad news, this bad reports to the other. Quite all right. There are good reports, and we're not going to deny or negate that. But truth is, we need to be more kind. We need to practice how to be kind. Like I said, kindness can be learned, and you should learn how to be kind. You can't say that somebody is born kind and then another person is born unkind. Nobody is born unkind or born kind. Maybe that person grew in an environment that let kindness thrive intrinsically, but because it is a virtue, you can learn and choose to be kind. Because I feel like some people have learned to be kind, but they just decide not to be kind. I mean, violence everywhere. There's that, but please, let's be kind. And it goes beyond niceness. I have a friend that always say he's not a nice guy, and yeah, he's true. But honestly, kindness is different from niceness, and this is not an episode for kindness, so I can't really buttress on the issue of kindness. But if you want to know more, you should definitely listen to that episode. All I want to say now is please, please practice kindness. Please practice kindness. Okay, next up is peace. Peace is a very peaceful episode, and I talk so much about kindness because of how kindness is dear to my heart. Peace is also dear to my heart, but because of time constraint, I just try and run through all of them, the list. Talked about your first. Oh, by the way, your first is actually one of my favorite episodes of all times. I know. I've not really heard people talk about your first. I've asked a few, but then they didn't really get back to me. But your first is definitely one of my favorites. And I think you like them. Okay, one excerpt from that episode is: you have the power to create first experiences. It's true that you never forget your first, but first is a product of recency, right? I think there's a principle called the primacy and recency where you always remember what you did first or what you did last. So whenever you have a negative first experience that maybe may have led to maybe a psychological condition called PTSD, there's that clinical condition now, or you know how the world we're in now, everybody is just throwing words around. I have PTSD, I have OCD. I don't even know when sickness became a fancy, but if you're doing that, you should stop that too, because these things are actually serious conditions. And don't just think you're sounding don't think you're sounding fancy because you say I have OCS, I have OCD. My OCD doesn't allow me want to stay in a very dirty environment. I have a compulsive. You may, in the actual sense, have tendencies for these things, but it shouldn't make you want to be upfront about saying it like it's something that you are. You should. I think I talked about context, how you learn new words by learning the context, the concept of context, where if you understand the context in which a foreign word was used, that's a word that you don't know, an alien word, you understand what the meaning of the word is, even before researching or checking out what that word means. So yes, there's context. There's learning and incorporating new words. Next up is bad habits. I like bad habits, honestly. It's very similar to what I said about your first, where you should not be claiming that I have a habit of doing this. I have a habit. If it's a bad habit, my dear sister, my dear brother, work on it. You can be better. Don't ever make excuses for bad habits. Bad habits keep you at a certain place. It keeps you stagnant. It prevents you from growing. It's an antagonist for growth. Speaking like a pharmacist, antagonist. Anyway, yeah, but that's besides the point. It's bad habits are antagonists for growth. So please learn to do away with your bad habits, whatever kind of bad habits it is. I share that I have a bad habit, or I had a bad habit of chewing my nails, and it's mostly when I'm eating. Oh, sorry, when I'm thinking, I'm stressed out, or I'm not thinking. So it's something I had to work on. I'm still working on. You wouldn't know that now because I mean I have my nails on, but then don't trust me, it's not as horrible as it was because I'm intentionally and constantly working on doing better. Then we have spontaneous inspiration. It was something that just happened spontaneously that I think you would love. Spontaneous is always great. Okay, not always so, but it's great. Then we have expectations, and I think I recorded expectations during Christmas, that Christmas or holiday season now, where you have so many expectations about people, and many people or things don't meet your expectations. What should be your reaction? What should be your response? And then I think what I said was you should learn to make room for people or make room for things. Whenever you make room for people, it doesn't take away the disappointment, but it takes away the possibility of losing out on people or relationships because you've been hurt before. Because most times when our expectations are lost or our expectations are not met, we tend to just write those things off. And honestly, sometimes people don't end up meeting our expectations, or things don't happen the way we want them to because of genuine reasons. And imagine writing those things off when you don't even know. But then when you make room for people, you make room for things, it makes you handle the situation better. Next up is resolve, where I talked about replacing your resolutions with resolves, where resolve makes you more convicted and it makes you more intentional, where you're not just being emotional about making a new, it's almost a new year now, and I think you should actually listen to that episode again. So you're not up and down because of the whole emotions of new year, new me, my birthday, and making resolutions on what I want this next phase of my life to be. No, I'm making a resolve. It may be something that I've done before and I want to keep at it. So my resolve is to keep at this thing, or something I want to do. It's more intentional and more growth oriented. That's what resolve talked about. Procrastination was a very dear episode to me. I think I also like procrastination a lot too, because procrastination is something that I'm a victim of too. But trust me, I'm getting better. Ask my friends, I'm getting better. Some of my friends will not agree, yes, but I'm getting better. I pride myself in the fact that I'm getting better. And one thing I said in procrastination is one of the ways to overcome procrastination is accountability. So if you are accountable, you're redeemable, and that makes you less of a procrastinator because you know that you have to meet certain people, you have to account to certain people, and all of that. Then I definitely like this episode. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? There are certain things when you want to do, you need to ask yourself this question. This question should be a reminder to you. Is it worth it? This thing I want to do, is it worth it? Jay, I literally ask myself this question. So the pro max of this question is it necessary? Because that's something my friend always asks me. I do a lot of things that I don't need to do. And sometimes she would just be like, Janet, is it necessary? This thing you are doing. And so I always ask myself that question. That kind of helps me stay on track and remain on the thing that I want to do, not going off track. I tend to go off the rails sometimes out of excitement or out of maybe sadness. So just high emotions, high of maybe excitement or sadness can make you do certain things that in the long run truly they're not worth it. So yes, you should listen to that episode. You should listen to all, but then I'm just giving you excerpts from each of this episode. How I even remember, I mean, like I'm so proud of myself right now that I remember. Plus, yeah, actually learning experiences for me, so it's only natural that I remember. Another one is gratitude. Oh God, gratitude was one episode that had a lot of daring reviews for me. Like when the reviews for gratitude came from people I knew and people I didn't know. I mean, it was from a very different angle that they said I talked about gratitude. And I'm always for any day, anytime, I'm for simplified. I always like to do things simple, like to address certain concepts simple, because there are so many things that can be said about a certain concept or a virtue. So I mean, I'm still learning. So I just try to say as simple and as basic as I can that would help us. And that was something that happened in gratitude. You should definitely listen to gratitude. Gratitude is, it's great to be grateful for things in our lives. How do you manage stress? Oh my god, this is an A episode. This was an episode, honestly, I recorded without any expectations. Honestly, I was so stressed. I don't even know whether I was expecting that people were going to listen to this episode, because I was literally just complaining and crying. And this till today is still one of the most listened episodes on my podcast, honestly. And I don't know what people are me. I don't know. I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't know what they are learning, no. But then I mean, how do you manage stress? It was literally a question I was asking people. How do you manage stress? Because I am exhausted. I was exhausted of being exhausted. I remember using that expression. I was exhausted of being exhausted and all of that. So yeah, how do you manage stress? I'm trying to speed up the whole review, right? The next one is recovery. So recovery was sort of like the answer to how do you manage stress, and it was inspired by my dear friend Joseph. I think I shouted out to him on that episode where we had this conversation, and then I now realized that the way to actually manage stress is to learn to recover. There are certain times that you life where you need to take a break and really recover, really regain yourself, and then recovery may require that you let go of certain things that you are holding on to, or you learn to better strategize yourself to address certain situations. That's what you do in recovery. You're not only resting, you're strategizing. That's how to recover. Another episode is the gist. The next episode is the gist. The gist was where I felt like, oh my god, I'd already given like 10 episodes of serious talk. I'm not that serious. I'm like, okay, yes, I'm up for giving concept. I'm up for talking about virtues and all of that. But I still like to gist, guy. I like gisting. And so I had to remind not just my followers, I had to remind myself on that episode that Jay, you like this thing. Which one is all this peaceful expectation, no resolve, all of these things? Yeah, that's what that episode was for. The gist. I literally was just gisting on that episode. And then boundaries. I love boundaries. I trust me, I love boundaries. In fact, what do I love about boundaries? I love boundaries. You should listen to boundaries. I love boundaries. You should listen to boundaries. Then projection. Projection was a very sweet episode for me. I enjoyed the context. I enjoyed the recording process and everything about projection. You should listen to projection. Honestly, projection was it was a very sweet episode, honestly. I don't want to say too much. If I give you all, then what's the point of listening to it, Abby? Right. Spontaneous impression part two. That's the other one. Spontaneous inspiration, spontaneous and spontaneous impressions. They're all the same thing. They're basically the same thing. And then we have humor, super proud. So let me give you what happened. Like this particular three, humor, superpowers, referencing space. There were actually episodes that were consistent every week. So I had experienced like a level of inconsistency in releasing episodes, and I had to tell myself that, Jay, give myself this task to make sure I release episodes in the month of August. I did all of them in the month of August, where I needed to release episodes consistently in that August. That was a task, a goal I set for myself. And I was so happy. I don't even know how I was able to meet up, because that was my exams period. But I was able to record those 4 episodes and deliver every week. Guy, you try. Kudos to myself. So, and they were not just, I barely even talked about exams in those episodes. They were really qualitative episodes. I enjoyed every single one of them, from humor to superpowers to referencing. Superpowers, I talked about my darling brother Joshua. He has been saying, when I told him, do you know that I talked about you on my podcast? He was like, hey, Jenny, when did you talk about me? I want to see it now. Did you say, you were thinking it was a video? I said, no, it's not video, it's audio. So now I'm going to show him this part where I talked about him. Joshua, I talked about you in Superpowers. When you have data, you use mommy, or when mommy has data, you use mommy phone and listen to data and listen to Superpowers. But honestly, I think I should talk about this a little bit more here, because that episode doesn't really have so many listens. And I understand, because it's actually very long. But you should, if you can listen in parts, you don't have to. And that's one thing about podcasts. You don't have to listen to everything at a stretch. You can listen to it in parts. You listen to this 5 minutes, another day you come back and listen to 5 minutes. It's because you are assimilating information. It's not just about listening to this podcast and say, I listen to this podcast, I listen to that part. Are you really learning? Are you getting anything from it? Because it's your time. You're literally using your time, your life to listen to it. So if you're not getting anything from it, guy, you just have to rest. But then one of the ways you learn, you come back to it. So yes, back to superpowers. One thing I talked about superpowers, right, was our superpowers as humans. Our superpower is our humanity, and it stemmed from the fact that my brother, my younger brother, he asked me, Janie, if you're going to have a superpower, you know how children can be now, what superpower would it be? And I was like, I was dumbfounded, because I didn't have an answer. Normally, whenever children ask you questions, there's this something that always comes up at the top of your head, just to let them go, because sometimes their curiosity can be exhausting. And I was dazed. I didn't have any answer. And then I asked him, okay, so if you wanted to have a superpower, what would yours be? And he said that, I want the power to be able to control minds. I was like, wow, okay. I trust my brother. When brother give you one answer, ask him, why is that your answer? Why is that your why? That's where you'll be surprised. And then I asked him why. He said, I want to have this superpower so that whenever I'm sleeping, nobody will wake me up. I say, hey, Joshua, that's why you want the power to control people's minds. And all that. And plus, I mean, he's 11. While you are sleeping, who will wake you up? If it's not to go to school, who will wake you up? But that aside, that was a very funny answer. But that answer, it sparked a train of thoughts that up till now, I haven't recovered from, honestly. What if truly we as humans have that power, and then you have the power to be able to that was the question I asked. What happens when you have the power to control every other person's mind but yours? What then? Is that now a power? Is that a gift or a curse? That was the question I asked, because that was the question that was impressed in my heart when he said that after he had gone and all of that. So please listen to that episode. That episode talks a lot about our powers in our humanity and all of that. And down to referencing, always learning to make references. This issue of competition. Competitions and unhealthy competitions will be dealt more with if we learn to replace our competitors with references. So you're not competing with this person, but you are actually taking excerpts from these people to add to your life to grow. That's what you do as a student. I'm currently doing my project, and I'm not doing the best job at referencing. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not doing the best job at referencing. But one thing I understand is referencing or references, they give you a platform to grow. They give you elevation. They give you a point where you can start from. So you're not just out there in the wild. You don't know where to start. You don't know where you're going to. So if you learn to reference, I'm not saying you should copy. You're not copying. You shouldn't copy reference. You should actually just learn from those reference. That's why whenever you use a person's work, you have to actually reference that person to give credit to that person. When you do yours, another person will credit you. Simple mathematics. But that aside, so reference, you need to learn to replace your competition with referencing. And finally, not finally now, space, we have fixation. Validation was also a dear episode in my heart. It was a very dear episode to me because it was inspired by my friend Vicky. I shouted out to her in that episode too, and by the time she watches this, Vicky, shout out to you for validation. Honestly, many times we do certain things because we want validation from people, and all of that. We can do better. So yeah, listen to validation. And then the last one for the specific episodes where was spontaneous impression. Honestly, I can't even remember what was in that spontaneous impression, but listen to it. That's why it's spontaneous. I literally, it just happened there and then. And then we now had the special episodes that we're still releasing. I'm sure by the time this video is out, more than three, because right now I already have three videos, three spontaneous episodes, sorry, three special anniversary episodes out. But by the time you're watching this, I think I should have added more. It's been great. It's been amazing. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. I can't even believe like I had all of these episodes. Honestly, inspired impressions have really come a long way. And honestly, I want to say that I'm very grateful to every single. This is a long episode, but I mean, it's my birthday and it's our anniversary, so I think I've earned the right to stretch this episode. It's the first of its kind, so of course it shouldn't be short. What are you saying? But then I really want to say thank you for following us all this. Yes, I was about to say yes. All this month it's going to be yes. Obviously from next year. By this time next year, I'll be saying for all these years. But thank you so much, every single person, people that I know, people that I don't know, people that I will eventually come to know on and off of Inspired Impressions. Thank you so much for following. Honestly, it's really encouraging, it's really reassuring. And I want to end this episode now, this special anniversary and birthday YouTube podcast. I want to end it with my recommendations. So, I'm a podcaster, meaning I also listen to podcasts. Of course, I mean, why then will I be podcasting when I'm not listening? Who should listen to my podcast when I'm not listening to other people's podcasts? It doesn't make sense. Don't mind me. Oh God, I play too much. I said this in the gist. I like to play. I love to play. I like playing. So I'm sure you already figured by now. But anyway, back to the points. I'm going to give you three of my favorite podcasts that I recommend any day, anytime for you to listen to. These podcasts have been pillars of inspired impressions. Any day, even when I'm not looking for inspiration. Some days I don't need inspiration. I literally need information to work with. Any day, anytime. I know that when I come on these platforms, portal must open. Inspiration will drop, information will drop, everything I need will drop. And yeah, let me just go right into it. The first one, in no particular order, by the way, I'm not saying this is the first, this is the second. I literally listen to all of them. I love all of them equally, same way. I love all of them. So the first is On Purpose by Jay Shetty. If you know me personally, you know that I love On Purpose. On Purpose, oh my god, there was a time, especially when I was on holidays, where I was listening to On Purpose back to back, like every day in the morning, On Purpose the next day. And I can't even lie, I don't regret it. I enjoyed every single episode. It has been, just go and listen to On Purpose. I don't even know which is my, like, On Purpose has so many episodes and I don't know which is my favorite because I absolutely love every single one of them. Every guest on Purpose comes with a different dimension, a different angle of knowledge from their experiences and all of that. You should listen to On Purpose. Jay Shetty he's a great host. Honestly, he's a great host. When I eventually start to host video podcasts, trust me, I'm sure you've seen traces of Jay Shetty in my hosting, as per Jay Shetty students, Anyway, okay. The second one, this second podcast. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. When I've just been doing your things, just living your life, just doing your normal everyday, and then you're on Spotify, and then you just stumbled across something, and you are there, that place that you stumbled, that's where you remain. You cannot move from there. You are not stagnant. You may have stumbled, but you are rising from the stumble. And that was my experience with this podcast. Honestly, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago that I actually came across this podcast, and my life has never remained the same. And your life, I preach to you today, your life will never remain the same when you listen to this podcast. The podcast is Ideas That Matter. Ideas That Matter by Vusi Tembagwayo. Oh my God. Oh my God. Everybody should listen to Ideas That Matter. It is a very short, precise. There are some days when you need daily dose of reality to hit you to move. That's Ideas That Matter. You see the intensity that I'm explaining Ideas That Matter to you, but that is it. Like, oh my god, oh my god. Truth is, I don't have a favorite episode of Ideas That Matter because every single episode is just it. It's just Vusi Tembagwayo. He's an amazing man, and I honestly hope that one day he sees this and I meet him in person and I tell him that Vusi Tembagwayo, he probably hears this every day, I know, but you are an amazing person. You have helped me. You have helped me become a better person. You've helped me become a more strategic and a more growth-oriented person. Vusi, let not be like I'm doing Vusi tribute here because this is still Inspired Impressions. But trust me, you're not going to regret it. I'm not even going to give you which episode to listen to, but just trust me. Just trust me. Just go to Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast and type Ideas That Matter by Vusi Tembagwayo. If you don't come back and tell me your review, don't worry, I forgive you. The fact that you listen to it is enough for me. And then the last one, the last podcast. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Every single podcast I've listed, I told you that they have changed my life for the better. This isn't any different. And I'm literally not just saying this out of cliche or anything. They literally have changed my life for the better. And this final podcast, it will change your life. It's simple, it's straight to the point, and it's very organic. Every other podcast is organic, but you know how there's just one that is customized or individualized for something. That's what this podcast is. And I don't want to be blowing the podcast trumpet too much. So if you have not listened to it, you should go and listen to it. The podcast is Inspired Impressions by yours truly. Honestly, you would enjoy it. And I said it's my recommendations. I listen to it. There are certain episodes of Inspired Impressions. I can't count how many times I listen to it. And I listen to it not as somebody that recorded the episode. I listen to it as I'm listening to every other podcast that I listen to when I'm listening to podcasts. I'm learning it. It's like somebody I don't know or somebody I've come to know on that platform in that space teaching me or sharing their experiences with me. And every single time I listen to any episode of Inspired Impressions, it's a new it's a new experience for me. And I totally recommend that you should go and listen to Inspired Impressions. All right, family, I've taken so much of your time on this video podcast, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because I've earned it. I've earned it. It's my birthday, guys. You guys should give me the benefit of your time. I was going to say doubt, but the benefits of your time. One thing I can promise you is going to come in the next 1 year of our lives on Inspired Impression and my life is we're only going to get better. I constantly say this every time that I'm an ambassador for growth and a better life. I would choose growth every day, every time. So trust me, it's only going to get not only bigger here, it's going to get better here. We're going to go from glory to glory to glory to glory. Thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. If you've been able to reach this place, I love you. I love you from the depths of my heart. Thank you so much. And I know you're going to wish me happy birthday, but I'm going to say this finally. Happy birthday to me again. And happy birthday to us, all of Inspired Impressions family. We're 1 year now. I think at the age of 1, you're already crawling, right? So we're crawling. By the time we start walking, don't worry, let's start walking first. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, family. Whatever's crossed, make sure you go and check out the episodes that you've not been able to catch up on. I mean, I've literally gone through all of them for you. So whatever one strikes you the most based on all of these reviews that I've given, you should listen to. Even if it did not strike you, by the time you listen to it, it will strike you positively. So you should listen to it. And until then, I hope that you have a good day. I hope that you have a good life. And remember, don't forget to be kind. Bye. Adios.